Hey folks, this is Vince and Natalie with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and welcome to episode 21 of the DGA podcast. I am your host, Vince, and with me in the studio is...
Hello, everyone. This is your co-host, Idly, and we are on DGA's podcast today.
Good. Wow, that was very professional, very loud. That's good. That's good.
I don't know. I was just trying something new.
You always come in soft every time we record a podcast, so I turned you up a little bit, but if it ends up being too loud, I apologize, everyone. Oh, and by the way, don't mind the boxes in the background. We are not moving, but the ferrets do love to play in empty boxes. They like to climb in and out of them, so yeah. And then, yes, that is the dog sleeping behind Idly there. Mm-hmm. All right, so hopefully you guys didn't think that the last podcast that I posted was the official podcast for April. It was not. That was just a joke podcast. If you haven't watched it yet...
I didn't know that. I thought it was like the official one. I was so excited to watch it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes. The 5-minute official podcast with nothing but Simlish. Okay, so yes, great. Yeah, guys, just go watch the April Fool's podcast if you haven't already. But yeah, I am now back. This is an official podcast, and in this podcast, we'll be thanking our Patreon and Twitch supporters, as usual. Thank you so much, and we'll read your names off later. Due to medical issues, though, I sort of wanted to keep this one somewhat brief. So rather than do a top 5 this week, I figured I'd just talk about video game controversies. So, and I didn't want to do like top 5 video game controversies because some of the stuff that we will be talking about is quite sensitive in nature. And I didn't want to be like top 5, I didn't want it to sound like top 5 worst things that could possibly happen in U.S. history. That just sounded like in poor taste. Especially with some of the things that we're going to be talking about. So rather than do a top 5 to put a positive spin on negative stuff that has happened, we're just going to talk about these video game controversies. So it may be a little bit more serious.
Just a discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, it may be a bit more serious than what we typically do. And if this offends anyone, I apologize, but, there is a saying, those that forget history are doomed to repeat it. So I think it's important to at least discuss these every now and again in a mature setting so that, we can possibly prevent bad things from happening in the future. And, some of the stuff on this list has been going on for several years. It's ridiculous.
And also, this is all opinionated. This is, this is our opinions. So don't flame us.
You can flame us all you want. That's why I disabled comments. No, I'm kidding. No, she raises a good point. A person's opinion is a dime a dozen. So for someone to get mad over an opinion that someone else has doesn't make any sense. If you spent your life getting angry over other people's opinions, you would be very miserable. I can't imagine. And that ties into other things that we've talked about in other podcasts. People getting mad over video game reviews. That's
a controversy right there.
That is a controversy. It is. Just the amount of crap that I have to deal with from people that fanboys jumping all over me for, how dare you? How dare you, sir? How dare you? How dare you talk about a game I like in a negative way? How dare you have an opposing opinion? Yeah, it's... Ugh. So... Video game controversies. I split these up into different categories. So yeah, like I said though, there is some serious things in here, and I do apologize ahead of time, but please, please, please...
Stay a while and listen.
Stay a while and listen, okay? So, let's go ahead and get right into the nitty-gritty here. Violence in video games. I have a timeline here of... Now, I didn't cover every video game controversy out there. That would take forever. I wrote down maybe 3 or 4 of them, and some of these are pretty nasty. Let's just jump right into the deep end. In 1982, there was an Atari 2600 game called Custer's Revenge. And I don't want to describe what went on in this game. But, and I will be on a regular basis reading word for word what other websites have said, and I will link them in the below description to give them their due. This particular passage that I'm about to read came from Wikipedia, Wiki Custer's Revenge. And I'm that sigh right there tells me that she is now looking up Custer's Revenge on Google, and she is now disgusted with what is being seen. And she has every right to be. It's disgusting.
I've heard of this.
You've heard of that game.
I've heard of this before.
Google at your own risk, people. I'm just saying. Google at your own risk. I will describe the game as non-disgusting as I possibly can.
And not disgusting in the violence sense? You're talking about in a sexual?
Yes, this is there is a female Indian tied to a pole, and a male
takes advantage of her.
Yes, while dodging arrows and other things. And while deeds are being done, sound effects are playing in the background, like do-do-do-do-do. So, yes.
Very kitty-like.
Yes. So, just to read off what the Wikipedia entry has said here, and I apologize if a lot of this is going to be reading. Custer's Revenge quickly gained notoriety upon its release, sold in a sealed package labeled not for sale to minors, and selling for $49.95, equivalent to $132 in 2019. It acknowledged that children might nonetheless see the game. The game's literature stated, "If the kids catch you and should ask, tell them Custer and the maiden are just dancing." The makers elected to preview the game for women's and Native American groups, an act which many thought was a publicity stunt. Women's rights groups criticized the game, stating that it was a simulation of rape. The back of the packaging states, "She's not about to take it lying down, by George. Help is on the way, by God, he's coming." Other groups, such as Women Against Pornography, Native American spokespersons, and critics of the adult video game industry in general, protested about the content of the game. Activists tried to pressure legislators to outlaw the game, which Oklahoma City, home to a large Native American population, did. Multiple industries pursued an $11 million lawsuit against Suffolk County, New York, and legislator Philip Nolan because of a resolution authorizing the county executive to take action to halt sales and distribution of the game. It goes on to say that, nevertheless, the publicity of the game caused it to sell approximately 80,000 copies. Twice as much as other games of that same developer. They're adult only as well. Bachelor Party and Beat 'em and Eat 'em. I'm not even going to bother asking or looking that up. I don't care to know. So long story short, this video game, 1982, I was 1 at that point in time, or possibly 2 at that point in time. So video game, like sexual rape and violence, this is something that's been going on for a very long time, despite, we think, oh, this is recent. No, it's not. This dates back to 1982 and possibly prior, depending on what else has been released since then. I can only imagine what text adventures have popped up, on basically regular computers, like back in the day, those DOS computers where it was just all text. I wonder what kind of stories are out there. I don't know. I don't want to know. You know what I mean? So this is a nasty, crazy thing. So a huge controversy. I can only imagine what Idly thinks about this. Are you reading? Is that the look on your face right now?
I'm reading and I'm watching the remake.
There's a remake? What did you... I did not know of a remake. What was this remake?
It's a lot more...
graphic?
I guess. Yes. It's not pixelated.
When was this remake done? Not that I really cared to do too much research on this, but
yeah.
I mean, was it recent?
Hold on, let me check.
All right, I don't want to put you. You don't. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It boggles my mind that a game this controversial had a remake to it. What kind of sick person would remake a game like this?
I mean, I'm all for free speech. I really am. It's just, I mean, the lengths that you can go everyone's always trying to push the bar, right?
Right.
To make controversial stuff. Everyone's always trying to one up.
There's a way to push the bar without involving rape.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's like you
That's
can
a
do
line
other things, can't you? I mean, if they introduced a game that, I mean, I'm sure there are games out there that do this already, but if they introduced a game that tried to raise awareness of things that happen like this, that educate kids and adults as to the dangers of
This isn't
these things.
educational at
This
all.
is not educational. This is purely you're the guy doing the thing. You know what I mean? You're earning points for this. That is not educational. So like I can see pushing the bar in the sense that you're trying to teach people, but this is not at all the way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, so right into the deep end with that one. Anything else to say?
It's just a mobile app.
Oh, a mobile? Okay, well, yeah. Still, the fact that that was remade that just disgusts me.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess there's just people out there that like the game. The game. I can't even call it a game because all you do is dodge arrows and do things.
Why do they have to? I mean, you can dodge arrows in a video game, but why do you have to include that? You know, obviously that was the major selling point. Obviously,
yeah, it's a gimmick.
It is a gimmick, and it was a stupid one, in my opinion. And I can't believe that. But could a game like that fly today? You know what? The way I think of it, yes.
Yeah.
There are more games out on Steam now that do that than anything. And that's something that I guess we'll talk about. Well, actually, do you want to talk about that now? The games that...
Yeah, I actually have that written down. I've said that before on the podcast. All the sexual stuff on Steam, all the hentai, all the disgusting things on a children's, well, not really a children's platform, but it's like there's also kids on there. I mean, it's gaming. Gaming is like geared towards children and adults. You know, they like gaming too, so we do it too, with more adult content sometimes.
Right. But there's no regulation on Steam to prevent kids from just looking at screenshots.
Yeah.
Like at worst, there will be a bar over a picture on the Steam store page that says adult content, but you can click on the image and get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Steam has these adult settings in place to prevent kids from clicking on that bar to remove it.
There's a parental thing, but kids nowadays, like, they're too savvy, you know. I got around. When I was younger, you know, I jumped through hoops and stuff, so I was pretty savvy enough. But...
Yeah, or like, well, back in the day when we didn't have internet, the whole Showtime, the grainy white screen with the static on it, you're trying to look through the static. Oh, look, there's a leg. I see a leg. You know, yeah, back in the day. Yeah, fun stuff. But, yeah, and that relies also on the developers tagging their game appropriately. Mm-hmm. Just because adult content reaches Steam, if the developer doesn't set it up the right way, it'll appear as regular content, into which parental guidance or parental restrictions wouldn't apply.
I think it's annoying that people think that just because you're an adult means that you're okay with sexual stuff on Steam. I'm not okay with it. And for people to assume that, and, you know, when Steam recommends like all these hentai games at me, I'm like, no, dude, I don't want to see this stuff.
Agreed. Like,
No.
Okay, and there's even worse stuff. I hesitate to use the name of the game, because I don't want to draw attention to it. But there is a game that involves. I don't even. All right, I am innocent when it comes to stuff like this. I don't do anything like that. Like, for example, there is a game called Honey Pop Studio. It has you're managing a group of girls, webcam girls. Mm-hmm. Part of me wants to play the game for the economic and management, but then you get into the rest of it, it's filthy. Absolutely filthy. Mm-hmm. The trophies that you earn in this game are like male genitalia.
Yep.
So I don't care to play it.
Yeah.
But so and that's mild. That is mild compared to what's on there. Other games that are on Steam feature like bestiality, like cartoon, half anime characters, half animals. You know what I mean? I don't know what that genre of stuff is called. I don't want to. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I'm just saying it's out there, and it
is bothersome. Like, there's a lot of really good games, but that have that theme, the sexual theme, and that's so disappointing because I don't want to see that. Like,
you like Sakura Dungeon, for example, for the gameplay.
That was a great dungeon crawler. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. But I hated that it was filthy. I hated the dialogue was stupid. The moaning was stupid. I don't care about any of that. I liked the gameplay. I wished it was geared toward
more toward the dungeon as opposed to the filth.
Yes, that kids can play.
and to be fair, I'm not hoity-toity. Like, I am a guy. Okay, I'm a guy. I appreciate the female form, but there's a certain level of appreciation. There's like art, and then there's trash.
Yeah.
So I draw a fine line between the two. Some people, and if you like that, fine. I'm not going to judge you. It's just not for me. I was raised Tomb Raider.
Yeah, like, she has a really great female form, and she's not like, it's that game isn't trashy. It's just like, it's a good game. Like, all the Tomb Raider games are pretty good, I think.
To be fair, attention was still called to her body, even like in the N64 version where her boobs were pointy. You know what I mean? Like, there's pictures of it where it's like she's got triangles, little triangles.
I mean, if it's covered up, that's fine.
It is covered up. It's just, it was her butt. The camera was always panning around her butt, and it was always a picture of her chest with her pointy, So, like, even back then, kids were kids, and, perverts were perverts. But, yeah. So, even, I mean, it was still a thing back then, but it wasn't as bad as it is today.
Like, even the censored stuff, even, like going back to Sakura Dungeon, there was a censored version. However, it was still filthy. Like, you can still tell, half the things, and it's, I don't know. I wish that people were more classy than that. That's all.
Understandable. All right. Do you want to move on to the next violence in video games thing?
Grand Theft Auto.
Okay, so you want to talk about that? I actually have that on my list. I'll quickly outline up to that point, and then we can talk about that. So, in 1993, and I'm reading off of another segment from ncac.org, a timeline of video game controversies. And again, I'll link these links if I remember. I really should. Night Trap banned, and Mortal Kombat scrutinized by Congress. Night Trap is a game. I've even played the theme song on our Phasmophobia hunts, where it's the lady singing in the background, Night Trap, they're gonna get you, okay. Night Trap. It's a Sega CD game. It was removed from store shelves at Toys R Us and FAO Schwartz locations in the United States in direct response to a December 9, 1993 Joint Senate Judiciary and Government Affairs Committee hearing on video game violence. Night Trap is cited as shameful, ultra-violent, sick, and disgusting, encouraging an effort to trap and kill women. In particular, a scene in which the character Lisa is wearing a nightgown while captured by augurs attempting to drain her blood is found to be very offensive, given the circumstances in which she is attacked, scantily clad in a private bathroom. But what's ironic about that argument is that if they had played the game, and I have not played the game, but I've seen gameplay, you are charged with saving the woman. You've got these cameras set up in the house, and yes, it's a little questionable that you can see her in various states with these cameras, but you're trying to prevent these intruders from capturing her somehow, some way. So you're actually tasked with saving her, and in failing to do so, you lose, and that results in what they're complaining about. So it's not encouraging you at all to do these things to her. You're trying to save her. So there's, I think someone's got their wires mixed up there. In 1997, an attorney named Jack Thompson, he's pretty popular in the gaming industry, files his first video game lawsuit, and it's going to be the first of many, because he's filed many lawsuits against violent video games. The lawsuit is filed on behalf of the parents of 3 children killed in the Heath High School shooting in 1997. Investigations show that the perpetrator had regularly played various computer games including Doom, Quake, Castle Wolfenstein, Redneck Rampage, Nightmare Creatures, Mech Warrior, and Resident Evil, accessed some pornographic websites, and owned a videotape of the Basketball Diaries. The suit alleges that the producers of the games, the movies, and the operators of the internet sites were negligent in distributing this material to a minor because it would desensitize him and make him more prone to violence. The suit is filed in federal district court and is dismissed for failing to present a legally recognizable claim. In 2008, Thompson is permanently disbarred by the Florida Supreme Court for inappropriate conduct, including making false statements to tribunals and disparaging and humiliating litigants. So Jack Thompson, just to sum it up, just was a huge opposer to video game violence. That's what it came. And he filed many lawsuits. Every time there was a violent video game out there, he was all over it. Grand Theft Auto, 1998. The release of the original Grand Theft Auto causes... was it 1998 the original, or was that Grand Theft Auto 3? Let me take a look. Okay.
They're all the same to me, to be honest.
Well, Grand Theft Auto, the original, was top-down. It didn't have hookers and prostitutes in it.
Okay.
The original was top-down. And cool. Grand Theft Auto 3 was the first time it introduced a 3D element to it. That's where, and I'll read this, the game earns notoriety for its theme and approaches almost immediately after it is released. The player's mission is to drive prostitutes around town, evade the feds, and run drugs and porn, and in the process kill lots of people. In 2001, shortly after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, the release of Grand Theft Auto 3 is postponed in order to alter content involving New York City. So the release of Grand Theft Auto just causes just introduces all sorts of controversy. Yeah. What did you have to say about Grand Theft Auto? You said you had some information.
It's no, not information, just opinions. You know, it's a pretty violent game. It's weird. Like, I'm actually more. I give more of a side eye to the language than I do to the actual violence.
Well, that's an interesting point, because if you... I think it depends on culture, too. If you take a look at, say, England or the UK, they are a bit more freeform when it comes to nudity. Like, they don't mind nude beaches. Like, there's more nude beaches in the UK, I think, than in the United States. There's more... I've seen more video of women flaunting their stuff than I would see in the Americas. But in North America, what's weird is that we have a problem with a nipple slip, but we don't have a problem with violence, like people being gunned down constantly in video games like this. So it's weird. It's really strange, the priorities and the stigmas that we set for these kind of things. And I think it's based on culture, honestly, like what we're used to.
I don't believe that someone should take responsibility, or a video game should take responsibility for someone's actions, to be honest.
I agree.
I think it's silly to put a lawsuit on a video game based on someone's actions. You know, I believe that you should blame the person, not its influence, because it's not like the video game is telling you to do that. I'm sure it has like warnings, like don't try this at home, or things like that.
Right.
It's just someone's imagination that they wanted to put on paper. You know.
I do want to touch on that. What I'm going to do is read off another entry or two, and then I'm going to play a couple of clips that I have to just end this violent part. So Call of Duty 2009, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and I don't think you've played this, but there is, and I'm reading from now Wikipedia, controversies surrounding Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. This is a very popular one that came up. In the game's fourth level, titled No Russian, the player takes control of an undercover CIA agent
I remember that.
who participates in a mass shooting at a Moscow airport to gain the trust of a Russian terrorist group. It begins with the player walking out of an elevator with 4 other gunmen who proceed to open fire on a large group of civilians at a security checkpoint. The player then accompanies the gunmen as they walk through the airport, killing any remaining civilians. The only legitimate targets are a group of security personnel encountered in waves throughout the airport interior, and a more heavily armed gang of riot squad and FSB members deployed on the tarmac. The level is very graphic, as screams can be heard throughout, and the injured crawl away, leaving blood trails, or perch themselves on tables and stands as they bleed out. However, the player is never forced to partake in the massacre, and may instead let their comrades just kill the civilians. If the player does not feel comfortable during the level, they are allowed to skip to the next level with no penalties whatsoever. Furthermore, the player is never specifically encouraged to participate in the shooting. So, the developers have added ways to skip the level. And in fact, when you first boot up the game, it asks you straight out, there is a level in this game that is controversial. Would you like to automatically skip it? And you can actually choose that as soon as you start the campaign. But again, you can also choose to skip it when the level does come up as well. And again, you're not encouraged to shoot any civilians, but you can if you want. I'm just saying, I think the developers, again, this is a way of pushing the envelope, like you had mentioned earlier, on, sort of making the game feel a bit more, like, give a bit more impact on what was actually happening. And it did leave a mark, I think. It's like watching a movie. Like, these things happen in movies all the time. And for it to happen in a video game where you're actively participating in it, or just passively participating in it, it was new. It was unique. And there was a lot of controversy surrounding that.
I think that if you play through that and you don't feel like a tinge of sadness for those people getting mowed down,
seek help.
Yes, then that's when I'm like, okay, maybe you should, like, lay off the video games and do something else that's nice.
Seek therapy, maybe.
Like, because that was a pretty sad scene. But the hypocrisy of people critiquing that is that there's so much stuff out there that's either just as bad or worse, and you don't see any complaints about that whatsoever. So it's just, I think it's silly that people have such a problem with it when there's other things going on that are just as bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
It's art.
I agree. I also take issue with the fact that people, like, I think some politicians use video games as a scapegoat that everyone can rally behind, that's safe to rally behind. Oh, video game violence is terrible. It's the cause of kids shooting other kids in schools. No, it's not. Mass murders were around long before video games. What video game caused the Crusades to happen? Tell me. What video game caused the Crusades to happen? There were no video games back then. So you tell me, if video games are the root of all evil, then why did violence happen prior to them being invented in the first place?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. It's BS. It's a scapegoat. Video games are a scapegoat. It's a way for politicians. It's just a new thing for politicians to look at and complain about in an attempt to gain favor. And on top of that, video games are a form of entertainment. So it's okay for movies or books to contain this kind of violence, but it's not okay for a video game to contain that kind of violence. If you're going to ban video games, then you have to ban the books and you have to ban the movies too. You can't have it. You can't have it like just focused on one thing. You know what I mean? You have to have. It's an entertainment. It's a form of entertainment, so it has to be universal across the board. Otherwise, it doesn't stick. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Going back to like the sexual stuff too, like you can say the same thing about like Custer's Revenge, for instance, but at least have the option to not see that type of stuff, or have some perimeters that make it so that only perverted people will see that stuff,
Right. Right. Unfortunately, the Atari 2600 wasn't that advanced. It was just pixels. It was just pixels. Huge pixels, huge dots on a screen that were all clumped together to form shapes. Yeah. E.T. did not look like E.T. at all. It didn't.
What the heck?
There was a game called E.T. on the Atari
Oh, okay. I
2600.
thought that was the code name for something.
No,
Sorry.
no, pervert. Maybe you should be playing. I don't
You
know.
were talking about Custer. I didn't know that. Okay, sorry. Anyways,
No,
so
I was talking
yeah.
about 2600 games, but okay.
But yeah, the Grand Theft Auto stuff, I'm actually okay with. There's a lot of filthy stuff in there too. There's a lot of violence, and it's just like, you got to brush it off. It's just someone's mentality. I think I think people are too sensitive nowadays, to be honest.
Well, there is a level of that too. There are people that are very sensitive, too sensitive about things. And again, and these sensitive people try and force that way of thinking to make it law. And without getting too political about this, I'll simply say that the ultra sensitive need to step back and let other people be people in the way people want. But on the other end of the spectrum, being too desensitized is also a bad thing.
Yeah.
So you've got these ultra sensitive people trying to change legislation and laws. You've got the super desensitized doing some really questionable things in public and other places. And you've got lawmakers trying to juggle both people. And we have not yet found a way to make some kind of more, I don't know, balanced approach to it. And that's always going to be an issue, I think. The controversy is not going to stop.
Yeah, I think every single video game out there should have a disclaimer in the beginning saying, like, every violent video game should say, like, do not try this at all. This is just creativity at its finest. And, what was the other one? I just had a blank.
It's all right. You're fine.
But yeah, I think every video game should probably have a disclaimer.
Well, not only
especially like not to offend people in 2021.
ESRB ratings were introduced at some point. I didn't look that up, but ESRB ratings were introduced at some point. M for mature or whatever, 17, NC7, whatever. I don't remember what the ratings are, but E for everyone, M for mature. That's a step in the right direction, but not all retail outlets, I think, enforce that. Especially if you had an older person at the register who didn't even know what a video game was or just knew Pac-Man. But looking at Call of Duty, would she know enough? Like, what if she had not received the proper training? And a kid comes up to the counter with Call of Duty in their hand or whatever, and the old lady goes, "Oh, it's a video game. Okay, fine." But without knowing the differences between the video games and maybe not even looking at the rating, it's possible that she could have sold him the video game. You know what I mean? So there are situations where, the ESRB rating is a step in the right direction, but I don't think it's a catch-all kind of thing. There are ways around it.
And like, if you have a video game that says like, we're not inciting violence, do not try this stuff out, I think that would be fine, honestly.
I think the most important thing, really, that parents need to stay informed of what their kids are doing. And I think that's the biggest problem with video game violence and everything else, and video games in general. If there are some parents that do play video games and know enough about them to be able to keep an eye on their kid to make sure that they're not doing something stupid. But then there are parents that don't know anything about video games but plop their kids in front of a video game to shut them up for a while so that the parent can relax and unwind and have some fun. It's those parents that don't know what their kid is doing online or what their kid is playing.
Not only that, but like they don't want to argue with their child.
That too.
Yeah, when I was younger, I used to play, some pretty violent games, and my parents, they would tell me not to play it, but then, I would still play it. So
Yeah. My parents took a back seat when it came to video game violence. But luckily I turned out, like, they instilled enough good morals in me to where, nothing bad ever happened. Not that video games cause that kind of thing. I'm just simply saying, I played violent video games as a kid, and I had good morals, for the most part. So, and I never participated in any sort of hate crime or anything like that.
that's a huge thing. I think if parents taught their kids like good morals and morality and empathy and sympathy and all that stuff, then any video game that they play, whether it's a sexual video game or a violent video game, I think they'd be able to not condone that stuff, in their real life.
And not only that, but educating the kid to teach them the difference between fantasy and reality. There's a big difference between the two. Most kids can tell the difference. At least most mature kids can tell the difference. But there may be some kids out there that may have some mental disorder, and I'm not just my son has ADHD, and I have a story to tell. I don't know if I'm debating on whether or not I should tell it, but I'll just tell it. When I first got custody of my son, and he was in the 1st or 2nd grade, he at the prior house that he lived in, I'm not going to tell you who he lived with prior, but they would let him play Left 4 Dead at a 1st grade level. When I got custody of him, for reasons I won't say why, he came to my house. I brought him to his new school, and he was fine for a couple of days. But then I got a call from the school, and your son was in the playground trying to teach kids to play Left 4 Dead and shoot each other and shoot zombies. And, that's a kind of violent behavior that we don't want to encourage in a 1st or 2nd grader. So he was actually suspended for that. I had to pick him up from school, and I banned him from violent video games until he was old enough and mature enough to realize that. And when I thought he was okay with it, like years later, I gave him the freedom to play them again. And if I got any sort of phone call from the school or anything that was related to violence, I would take them away again and wait a couple more years until it finally stuck with him that it was not okay. So, yes, there are going to be some kids out there that they can tell the difference between fantasy and reality, but at the same time, some are not going to be able to right away. So, different kids mature at different speeds. So, it's up to the parents to stay informed of what their kids are doing.
That's a hard one, too, though, because, he wasn't actually, shooting children in the park.
I agree. It may have been... To be fair, the school that he went to, the new school that I brought him to, was a bit more upper class. I didn't live in an upper class neighborhood, but the school district he lived in was upper class.
Yeah.
So a lot of the parents and a lot of the kids in that area were more well-to-do and were more hoity-toity about that kind of thing. Whereas if he were, it was still a public school, but there are public schools in, say, downtown to where I live that they didn't care. The fact that you showed up to class was good enough. You know what I mean? This is a school district that he went to that it was definitely more focused around education, and I was happy for that. I'm glad he went to that school, honestly, but at the same time, it was a bit more restrictive in that kind of thing.
I think violence, with guns and stuff, really ties in with gun rights, in the U.S. So I'm trying to say a story, but I don't know if it's very video game related. It has to do with guns and stuff.
Quick about guns. What do I have here? I have one entry here. I'll just say this. In 2019, this is the last entry for violence. Walmart removed violent video game displays after shootings, but still sold guns. They had no comment on that.
Wait a second. Say that one more time. In my head.
There was a school shooting.
Okay.
And there were other shootings. So Walmart removed violent video game displays Like displays like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, the displays are now gone. But there's still a gun section and they still sold guns.
I didn't know Walmart sold guns.
They do.
That's creepy.
There's a section in the back near fishing and tackle and all that other. There's a gun display case.
That's actually really creepy. I think guns should be sold in actual gun stores and should have tests like IQ tests for gun owners.
Agreed. Extensive background checks. I'm sure there are background checks, but I think you should also pass some kind of basic "Are you crazy?" test, like psychological tests, to make sure that you know, what color is the sky? Green. All right, maybe we shouldn't sell this person a gun. You know what I mean?
It can be green sometimes.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
I'm all for gun rights. Like I really am. I've always wanted to own a handheld, gun, but I think it's silly to. Again, I think it's silly to blame video games.
But there's
blaming the person.
There are two extremes with gun rights, though. There are people that own a gun. They have every right to own a gun to protect themselves. Fine. Protect your home and your family. That's good. But to bring an assault rifle out into public and flaunt it and to incite violence, that's a completely different issue. That's not responsible gun ownership, in my opinion. That's just me. I think you have every right to carry a gun, to protect your family, to protect yourself.
I think it depends. I think if you're bringing an assault rifle to protest gun rights, or to protest, like, I don't know, a neighborhood burglary or something, that like something extreme like that happened or something, I think then I can see it. It would have to, if it were allowed, it would have to, in my opinion, it would have to be somewhat regulated to prevent it from getting out of control. Because there is a history of people storming buildings, recent events, people storming buildings and taking selfies inside these government places while government officials are scurrying, trying to find places to hide. Stuff like that. I'm just saying, like, it happens. So, there needs to be, there's protesting and then there's extreme. And there needs to be somewhat of I think safety for all involved is number one. I'm all for protesting and I'm all for opposite ends of conversations and issues and debates. But you need to do it in a way that's safe for everyone. Yeah, there's no middle ground anymore. And that's a sad thing.
Before we move on to the other issues for controversies, I want to play two clips, and I don't want. I want it known that I'm not going to focus. I didn't pick a clip from this person because I dislike them or anything like that, and it may offend Ailey, but let's just play it.
Second, we must stop the glorification of violence in our society. This includes the gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace. It is too easy today for troubled youth to surround themselves with a culture that celebrates violence. We must stop or substantially reduce this, and it has to begin immediately.
So I applaud Trump's thought there surrounding youth with violence. I agree with that. You shouldn't encourage violence, okay? But to blame video games for that is a different story. Like, to me, I don't think that's the right approach to it. That gets back to the whole politicians picking something to blame when movies and books and other things do the same thing. So I'm not picking on Trump. I'm just saying that's a recent event. So that gets back to my previous point. From 1982 prior to present day, this is still going on. 20 years. 20 years. I'm just saying this is still a thing. The other clip I want to play is from a show called Penn and Teller's Bullcrap. Well, it's BS, but I'm censoring myself. They did an entire segment on violent video games, and I want to play the last 2 minutes of the episode because it really makes a point.
Next time you feel like worrying about fake, violent video games, try a little Godolphin experiment. Imagine that video games were invented 100 years before football. Picture school video game teams in uniforms and hot-ass cheerleaders with big bouncing pom-poms. Now imagine that after 100 years of extracurricular video game fun, football is invented and introduced to schools. Thousands of kids get real, no kidding, no fantasy, no make-believe, broken knees, legs, ankles, cervical trauma, heat stroke, and concussions. What would parents do? From 1931 to 2007, 665 kids died from injuries they suffered playing football. This is not video game violence. This is real violence done to real children by other real children, all encouraged by schools and society. Every parent worries about his or her kids. Every adult worries about all children. But you need to pick what you think is worth worrying about. And we think our young friend Harrison's mother has the right idea. See, we have a confession to make. We really were pretty nervous about Harrison shooting that big, scary gun. We knew there were some safety risks, both physically and psychologically. Well, we didn't show you everything that happened at the shooting range that day, and we don't feel right about that. So this is what you didn't see. A few minutes after Harrison got the chance to be the killing machine that Jack Thompson believes he could be.
I got you. You did a good job.
Sorry, Harrison.
It's hard to picture that, but he was crying. They brought this kid to a shooting range. There were policemen there, safety experts. They were showing him how to shoot an assault rifle. He did, but then minutes later he was crying because he did it. He plays violent video games, so I think the point they were driving here was just because you play violent video games doesn't mean that you know how to put a rifle together, you know how to shoot it, and you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. So, that is a huge... I'm just saying, I think that summarizes everything I've been trying to say for the last half an hour. Mm-hmm. So...
Most people that have guns don't use them on other people. You said if you have a gun, you're going to use it.
Well,
you don't.
What's that I'm saying? If you have a gun, you better be able to use it?
Yes. Most people are overwhelmingly good.
Okay, yeah, well, but most people have a gun. 350 million Americans. There are 310 million guns.
Right, that doesn't mean that most people have a gun. It doesn't distribute exactly that way.
But, you know, people, are blaming violence in movies and videos
on this. Well, that's insane. That's insane.
Really? What is it called? Art of War, Man of War? What do the kids play?
Call of Duty.
We don't allow that in our house. Really? So busy buying Call of Duty. There needs to be more hugs in households.
Those aren't mutually exclusive.
Well,
nothing in Call of Duty says you can't hug your family.
Well, you know what? This boy's favorite game pen was Call of Duty.
Yes, and many peaceful people. You're doing the same thing. Call of Duty is the most popular game there is. Everyone's playing it, so of course bad people are going to play it too.
Yeah.
To try to blame Shakespeare and the violence in Shakespeare and the violence in art for violence that happens in the real world is something that's been tried for years and is always wrong. People must take responsibility. We must stop blaming society and actually blame the perpetrator.
Yeah, you know what?
Call of Duty is something that young people like and enjoy, and it's a game.
I think
and most of those people aren't violent. Most of those people aren't violent. Most of the people aren't violent.
We need to take responsibility for our own houses.
And we have to stop disliking our children. We attack comic books. We attack monster movies. Now we're attacking video games. Love our children and know that they can play.
Take care of your household.
Let them play.
Jamie Foxx is one of the only celebrities
that Jamie Foxx is wrong.
Well, he says we cannot turn our backs and say that violence in films or anything that we do doesn't have some sort of influence. It does. I go along with that.
Blame the killers. Why not blame the killers?
Well, some of the killers learn their killing through movies.
Blame the killers, not the artists. Why are you blaming artists for something that bad people did?
And
Shakespeare is not a bad person. He wrote beautiful stuff. It has suicide, it has murder, and it tells us something about our hearts. And people who watch Shakespeare don't kill, and Call of of Duty is art. It is not some sort of propaganda thing. And that's an easy way
How
out.
about this? This is a case of violence with guns, video games, and mental health. Now, here's a kid who was borderline autistic with Asperger's. They have a lot of social problems.
But they have no violent problems.
No. Autistic kids are usually victims. My point is that if you sit this kid in a room all day shooting people, if they have no social skills...
How do you know that?
Because
it's been up.
Well,
He had no social skills. It's been reported.
There's no evidence that Asperger's syndrome people go violent from playing games.
This is not about Asperger's.
You have not one data point of evidence on that.
I'm not saying that.
Well, you just said it.
Well, let me try to be clearer.
Please.
Here's a person who has troubles figuring out what's social and what's not. And he's inundated with shoot. And then a little plan comes because, well, maybe I'll just go to school and shoot people.
No, you've just done cause and effect where it doesn't exist.
There's no guilt. There's no guilt. There's no conscience.
That's not true that there's no guilt and no conscience.
He wouldn't make eye contact with his barber.
Please don't tear those people apart. I have good friends with Asperger's. They have conscience. They have empathy. All of that is not true. You're spreading lies about people who are part of our society and that we need to love and take care of and cherish.
It's not the media.
I agree. There's a 3-minute clip on YouTube where Penn is on the Wendy show, and he's trying to relay to them to, blame the killer, not the artist. You need to blame the people responsible for actually doing things instead of a video game that's not really inciting violence. I don't think a video game incites violence. I think it's just trying to, either be comical about it or just trying to get you to feel something.
I will admit that video games increase adrenaline level, but does it turn kids into natural born killers? No. Absolutely not. So I guess moving on to, and I apologize for talking so much about it, but apparently we had a lot to say. I want to talk a little bit about DRM, Digital Rights Management. And I'm reading from the Wikipedia page, Digital Rights Management, 2008. There was a system introduced called Limited Install Activations, and I'll read verbatim what it says here. Some DRM systems limit the number of installations a user can activate on different computers by requiring authentication with an online server. Most games with this restriction allow 3 or 5 installs, although some allow an installation to be recovered when the game is uninstalled. This not only limits users who have more than 3 or 5 computers in their homes, but can also prove to be a problem if the user has to unexpectedly perform certain tasks, like upgrading operation systems or reformatting their computer's storage drive. It goes on to say, in the mid-2008, the Windows version of Mass Effect marked the start of a wave of titles, primarily making use of Secu-ROM for DRM and requiring authentication, I can't say that word for whatever reason, with a server. The use of the DRM scheme in 2008's Spore backfired, and there were protests, resulting in a considerable number of users seeking an unlicensed version instead. This backlash against the 3 activation limit was a significant factor in Spore becoming the most pirated game in 2008, with Torrent Freak compiling a top 10 list, with Spore topping the list. However, Tweak Guides concluded that the presence of intrusive DRM does not appear to increase video game piracy, noting that other games on the list, such as Call of Duty 4 and Assassin's Creed, use DRM, which has no install or online activation. Additionally, other video games that do use intrusive DRM, such as BioShock, Crisis Warhead, and Mass Effect, do not appear on the list. So, yeah, limited activations, I don't see that a whole lot anymore. I'm sure there are some games that do that, but I think that when it was popular for a while, but I think it went the way of the dodo, honestly. But I could be wrong. When it comes to Steam, I'm constantly activating things and uninstalling, reinstall. So maybe all of that is done automatically for me and I just don't notice it. I do notice on occasion when I install a Steam game that there is a separate window pop up that tells me of extra, this game is protected by blah, blah, blah rights, EULA, blah, 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 you know what I mean? So I'm sure there's other things going on, but I don't think this limited install activations is around anymore, and I'm glad for that, because people reformat their computers, what? I mean, there are some people out there, I'm sure, reformat every month just to clean slate their computer as necessary, or flip computers, or sell them, or whatever, so... So that was one thing. Any comments on that before I go on with other DRM stuff?
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay. Persistent online authentication. Many mainstream publishers continue to rely on online DRM throughout the later half of 2008 and early 2009, including EA, Ubisoft, Valve, and Atari. The Sims 3 being a notable exception in the case of Electronic Arts. Ubisoft broke with the tendency to use online DRM in the late 2008 with the release of Prince of Persia as an experiment to see how truthful people really are regarding the claim that DRM was inciting people to use illegal copies. Although Ubisoft was not commented on the results of the experiment, Tweet Guides noted that 2 torrents on Mininova had over 23,000 people downloading the game within 24 hours of its release. So... I guess the moral of the story here is DRM, it seems to me, is more of a nuisance to the people buying the game than to people that are pirating it. People can look online and find ways around this DRM within hours. I mean, I'm sure there are dedicated people that will find ways around anything on the internet, including DRM. And then they distribute these copies to other people. That's unavoidable, I guess. But then the people suffering for it are the people that buy the game legitimately and have to deal with this crap. I can't play the game because the DRM won't let me play the game. You know what I mean? So I think that, I mean, do I approve of online piracy? No. I'm against online piracy. I don't think that people should be downloading games for free, especially indie developers that have worked hard to put food on their table. They work hard to make this game, and they're looking to feed their family, and then people pirated it. I have a problem with that. It's a huge deal. But at the same time, this DRM that they come up with, always online, limited activations, like, that only hurts people buying the game. People find ways around that piracy. So there's got to be some other better way to deal with this. You know what I mean? Either accept the fact that there's always going to be a group of people savvy enough to get around it, or come up with a way to make DRM less intrusive on the actual buyers and more intrusive on people just downloading it for free. You know what I mean? I don't know what else to say about it. Any thoughts before you?
There's a few games that I think have a really cool solution for pirated games. There's some games that have it where you cannot pass a certain level if it's a pirated game, like if it's a pirated copy or whatever. I don't know how they do it, but it's pretty cool to see that. Like you have, oh, sorry, but you can't progress past this part, or you can't earn this part because you have a really crappy version of the game or something like that.
Yeah. So there's more information about it on Digital Rights Management Wiki. I guess I'll just move on quickly to microtransactions. In 2006, it began, I guess, around 2006-ish. And I'm going to quote from ScreenRant.com. The predatory game monetization tactics of today began with Microsoft. After experimenting with paid DLC for its first-party titles on the original Xbox, Microsoft planned to launch the Xbox 360 with a storefront populated by the newfangled microtransaction. Speaking to Wired in 2005, Microsoft described the microtransaction system as one that would provide a profitable new revenue stream for publishers, one they would be foolish to skip out on. According to US Gamer, Bethesda was the first third-party publisher to accept Microsoft's idea, offering a pack of in-game horse armor for Oblivion players at a $2.50 price point. That was a big thing back then. I do remember that. It was, you can buy horse armor in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. That's Skyrim, I think, is the 5th entry. Oblivion was the 4th entry, and the Elder Scrolls 3 being Morrowind. Anyway, it goes on to say, this resulted in outcry from fans who'd found $2.50 far too expensive, especially for a cosmetic item in a single-player game where no other players would even see it. Speaking about the issue later, Elder Scrolls director Todd Howard claimed Bethesda had tried to price the pack lower, but someone at Microsoft insisted on $2.50. Regardless, the Oblivion Horse Armor DLC would be remembered as one of the earliest incidents of a publisher charging players for what many felt should have already been in game. Unfortunately for consumers, the DLC's infamy didn't matter. Despite the uproar, the Oblivion Horse Armor DLC was popular in sales, performing among the best of Bethesda's add-ons. Microsoft model worked, and the industry seemed to have noticed. Microtransactions didn't quite reach their current level of prominence until mobile games showed just how efficiently they could be implemented, but Bethesda's Horse Armor Pack was an important early example of small purchases, potential profit in big-budget games. Now, players are accustomed to spending even more on cosmetics in AAA titles, such as $15 for armor skins in Destiny 2's Eververse store. So, that's just one of the early examples. In 2000... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think microtransactions are such a scam.
Yeah.
I really do.
All right, that leads into this then. There was a video game named Evolve in 2015. I was really hyped for it. I wanted to buy it. It was a 4v1, similar to that of Dead by Daylight. But, and this is now quoting from N4G.com. The full game ships with 12 hunters and 3 monsters. It's one of those four hunters versus 1 monster kind of thing. The price of $60 included all game modes. And you have to pay $45 in order to get the 4th monster and the 4 playable hunters. So that's $105. Combine that with the microtransactions, which should and could have been easily implemented as unlockables. You are talking about $150 or more to play the full game. I can't accept that, and neither should you. Or to be more accurate, $180 right now. That's the price of 3 new games. The greed is unjustified. Again, I'm quoting from N4G.com. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons I didn't pick it up. Because $60 for a game, then, but these hunters here, they're not in the game, but you can buy them for $45, and this 4th monster, you can get that too. Oh, you want this skin? $2.50. Oh, you want this skin for this hunter? $2.50? BS. And then further on, Star Wars Battlefront 2. This is a game that we play regularly now. And this is what prompted me to come up with this particular topic for conversation. Like this whole podcast idea, the topic was because of Battlefront 2. We've been playing it a lot lately with our friends, and it's been a lot of fun. But before it turned itself around, and again, I'm going to sort of go from, quote from ScreenRant.com. The most recognizable example of poor microtransaction implementation is Star Wars Battlefront 2, which launched just a few weeks ago. And again, this is from 2017. Fortunately for the gaming community, many players obtained access to the shooter a few days ahead of everyone else thanks to the EA Access program. Those who had early access quickly discovered that EA had locked the game's heroes and villains behind unreasonable limits. One gamer discovered that it would take 40 hours of playtime to unlock each character and nearly 5,000 hours to unlock and upgrade them all. Alternatively, players could spend up to a whopping $2,100 on microtransactions to gain access to the full selection of content. Fortunately, these ridiculous practices led to a boycott of the game, and EA decided to turn off the use of real money for the time being. Hopefully, positive changes will continue to happen, and the games we love to play will remain focused on quality instead of profitability. And now today in 2020, I'm pleased to say that it's done away with that whole microtransaction thing. There's even a Celebration Edition that you can buy that includes all of the skins and all that, and all the characters are unlocked, so all of that is done. The only thing that we do now in this game is we play characters in multiplayer, to earn experience for them, and as we gain experience, we unlock the ability to upgrade cards. And these cards make our characters more powerful. Do I have an issue with matchmaking in the sense that it'll often pair you up with people that are way better than you because their cards are way better than yours? Yes. But there is a co-op mode in Star Wars Battlefront 2 that we play, 4 players versus the AI, and it's a lot of fun. So that's what we've been playing lately.
Can you imagine if it was still, like, it would be like a pay-to-win game? Like, Gems of War did that. I used to be so into Gems of War, and they came out with all these microtransactions. I was really good at the game, and then all of a sudden you got these people just chucking money at the game, and I came in like last place for everything, and it was awful. I wasn't gonna spend my hard-earned money just to, get first place on things again.
75% of mobile games I've played throw these ads in your face, and it's disgusting. Or they force ads on you in order to make money. You know what I mean? Like, if in order to play this next level, like, there was a game that I've been playing for a long time. It was like Dice Hunter. I don't remember the name of the game. It was you rolled dice and you were fighting. And I got really far in it, and then I came back to it a year later to replay it. And before every mission, I had to watch an ad. I'm like, nope, uninstall. If it's as soon as a game does that, immediate uninstall. I don't play it.
Ads are so, like, they're intrusive too. Like, sometimes I'll be in the middle of a match, and then all of a sudden an ad would come on, which would actually cause me to lose. That was annoying.
Yeah, I could have, especially if it's real time. Could you imagine if Clash Royale? That's a game that Vinny plays. It's a 1v1 tug of war game. And could you imagine if ads popped up in the middle of your gameplay as you're trying to put a unit down to combat something, and an ad pops up? I'd be pissed.
It's equivalent to watching a show on YouTube or something on YouTube.
Mid-roll ads? Yeah.
Yeah, like you're just about to, you're like getting really into it. All of a sudden, a stupid ad comes on, just takes you right out of
it. Breaks the immersion.
The mindset.
Yeah, it breaks the immersion. Absolutely.
And the whole mobile conversation, that reminds me of something I have on my list. When they released Diablo for mobile, you got a phone, don't you? Everyone has a phone, don't you?
You have a phone, right?
That was so ridiculous. I don't even like the game, and the fact that they even said that was just mind-boggling.
Blizzard has a lot of cojones, I would just say that.
I don't have a phone. Well, what, am I just like, it's like, okay, well then I guess you'll never play our game.
Clearly you're not good enough for Diablo. Yeah. You're not good enough because you don't have a phone.
So stupid, dude.
It is stupid.
Killing Floor 2, I love that game, but it has microtransactions in there, and that really, that makes me sad.
Agreed.
Because I want all the skins. It's not fair. It's not fair to see all these people with like cool looking armor, and I can't have any of that.
I don't mind it if there was pay to purchase armor, but there needs to be a way to earn it in game as well. If every item that is for sale, there needs to be a way to unlock it in game through progression. Yeah.
I think that would be so much nicer. Like, I'll spend the thousands of hours. Like, I'll I think that would be a good, what's the word? A balance, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like, you either pay for it or you grind it out, but don't just like completely block it.
Right. You're hiding the content behind a paywall, mm-hmm. and you're forcing people to use real money to access it. No. I don't approve of that behavior.
There's a game called Temtem that's very much like Pokemon, and it has controversial stuff all around. But one of the things was, I kept saying it ever since it released. I was saying it to all my friends. This game is going to have microtransactions. I'm telling you. They're like, no way. The developers already said there's no way it's going to be microtransactions. Lo and behold, there are microtransactions now in it. I think it's skins. I think
horse armor.
Skins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Horse armor and all that stuff. But again, like, I think it would have been better if it was just a grindy game. I mean, it is a grindy game already.
Are these skins unlockable through progression, or is it only accessible through
No, it's only accessible through money.
I'm glad I stopped playing that game.
Mm-hmm. They removed family sharing. They had this whole controversial mess about, I'm not even going to get into that, but it's on the Steam forums.
Okay, but the full family, you were upset about the family sharing thing because you were playing it for a while, then they removed the family share.
I was thinking about actually getting it because I was demoing it on your family share, and it was so fun and it was so good, and I'm like, okay, this game requires you to have at least 10,000 hours to grind out all the little Pokemon things on here, and I was willing to do that. So I wanted to spend actual money to pay for the game, but then they removed family sharing, and I'm like, what kind of BS is this? Like, what about all the people that wanted, to family share with their little kids?
They became too greedy.
It's ridiculous.
That's what it comes out to be. They became too greedy. They wanted more people to buy it. You have a taste of you had a taste. Now buy the full version. We're forcing you to. They were fully aware that they probably have some kind of statistic. I don't know if it's possible on Steam to see that. But I have to wonder if there is some sort of developer control panel to where they can see.
There's an option for them to actually choose whether or not the game is family shareable.
Well, I
there's
get
a
that.
tag on it.
But is there stats? Like, can they see 5,000 people are playing the game through family sharing? Can they see that? Can they see those stats? I mean, if they can, they probably were like, well, that's 5,000 sales, so let's just turn off family sharing and isolate our audience and make them angry. But we're going to get 5,000. That's greed. That's assuming that is a thing on Steam. That is greed.
Yeah, there were actually quite a bit of people I know that refunded it because they weren't able to play with their children, and it's kind of sad to see that. But
well, that's when companies start prioritizing money over family fun and about the consumer, then it's time to find something else to play.
They claim that it's to prevent cheating, but I don't believe that at all, honestly.
No, it's about the dollar signs. It's about the money. That's what it's about. Don't let them fool you. Do you have any other things on your list? I have one other thing to say. It's very short. And this is recent. 2021? I don't know if it was late 2020 or early. I forgot already. Redditors buying up stocks at GameStop.
Yeah.
So I don't get into stocks too much because I don't really own any. But from my understanding, this is what happened. In the stock market, it is possible for people to actually bet against particular companies. And there were rich people out there betting that GameStop's business was going to fail because you've got sites like Amazon, you've got all this other digital distribution. So why would mom and pop stores like GameStop continue to function as well as they did 20 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever? And that's valid. So they were betting against the company. So people on Reddit banded together and let's all buy a GameStop stock and let's bring. So basically, all these Redditors went on Reddit and all grouped together and all bought stock for GameStop, and the price for GameStop soared, and that caused everyone who bet against the company, all these rich people that bet against the company, to lose thousands upon maybe even millions of dollars because GameStop was doing so well. And now people are up in arms, and this is a huge controversy. I don't think it's ever been worked out yet. But I think there's an investigation now. Is it allowed for people on Reddit and other places to band together and do this kind of thing? To just stick it to the man? Is that you know what I mean? So that's something that needs to be worked out. But
yeah, I think if they did it intentionally, maliciously, to actually cause people who betted against GameStop to lose money, then I think that's kind of a bit messed up.
It's messed up, but at the same, on one end of it, it is messed up. On the other end of it, people are tired of the rich getting richer and the people abusing this. The rich people that have all this money that control the stocks by, there are politicians out there that get this insider information and they know what's coming. So they sell all of this stock and then all of a sudden they get all this money. How did they know that the company was going to do this prior to them selling all these stocks? Now they've made all this money. How did they know?
Yeah.
So I think
did those people who invested in betting against GameStop, did they know that it was going out of business?
They didn't. They knew that rich people were betting against it. They didn't know that GameStop was going to go down in price. They just knew that people were betting against it. So that's why they banded together to stick it to those.
But the rich people knew that they were going out of business.
Well, it's a good bet. I mean, at this point, look at GameStop. GameStop stores have closed. Like, comparing GameStop 10 years ago to today, GameStop is definitely more, I don't know, isolated. Because look at Amazon, look at Steam. Steam was not as prominent 10 years ago as it is today.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, if they're just using logic and common sense, it's not that they knew all this inside information that Amazon was blowing up and GameStop was, failing. I'm just surprised that the Redditors didn't also bet against GameStop.
Well, it was more. That was one approach, but I think it was more about sticking. I think the point they were trying to make, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I think the point they were trying to make was, we're tired of rich people manipulating the market and getting rich by getting all this information. I'm sticking it to them now by making them lose all this money. I think that was more of the thing. I could be wrong, but
can you imagine, like, someone who is doing stock for the first time, really trying to learn about it, and they're trying to get taught by the people who are good at it, which is the rich people, and they bet against GameStop using that same logic, and then they lose money because GameStop people on Reddit, or Reddit people,
agreed,
bought stock on it. I don't know. It's a hard one, man.
It becomes an us versus them thing with money. You know what I mean? It's like not an us versus them, more of like it's blue versus red. You know what I mean? Now you've got two sides. You've got the poor and the rich, and the poor people are trying to stick it to the rich people via the stock market.
Yeah, but okay, wait. Who's the poor people? Is that the blue?
I don't know. I whatever.
I'm just saying that there could be some poor people in that rich people circle, trying to also, make money,
And that's a good point.
That way. So they lost even more, I think.
Right. No, that's a good point. And that's why I think this needs to be investigated. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. I don't play the stock market because I'm not a risky kind of person. My investments are a bit more safe.
Yeah. It's very risky.
I've never been to a casino, ever. I've never played the lottery, ever. Because I don't believe in that. I don't. The odds are so stacked against you. Why are you throwing money away? I don't believe in that. I believe in safe investments. But that's just, everyone's different. I'm not going to condemn you for going to a casino and spending hundreds of dollars a week, or, you might win, sure. But there's a real chance that, the casinos wouldn't make the money that they're making if they didn't have the odds against you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a reason why casinos are so profitable, because the house has the advantage. Mm-hmm. So knowing that, I'm not going to be the sheep that feeds them. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's why, that's why I would say, if you were to invest in something, wouldn't you want to be taught by the people who are good at it?
Mm-hmm. I would, but even then, the stock market is a bit more risky. It's risky all around.
Yeah.
Because things are going up and down. And again, there are some people out there that have insider information that shouldn't. It's illegal, I thought.
Yeah.
To know these things ahead of time, and then, because that's manipulation of them. That's insider trading, I think, is a crime.
That just makes me think of Biff from Back to the Future with the almanac.
Oh yeah. With Biff bringing the almanac back to his younger self. That's he would have been arrested for that.
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah.
So, I'm surprised it wasn't.
Well, Back to the Future, it's a movie. Any other things on your list? Did we cover everything on your list?
Squadrons is on my list, but that's probably a whole different matter.
If it's for what I think it is, then yes, it would be a completely different matter. That's more of a personal rights issue, and we'll get into that in a future podcast when I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay, so here's another one, I guess. Controversial stuff is probably all the women who have problems with female characters dressing very scantily, you know.
That's
like
we did talk about that recently, didn't we? Where well,
Yeah.
well, in offhand comments, like we played. Like for example, we were playing. What was it? Pathfinder Kingmaker, and we were just talking about RPG armors in general. Where the more a guy levels in RPG, you've got this fancy armor, breastplate, arms, and then when it comes to women armor, the higher level it is and the stronger the armor becomes, the less it physically it becomes. So the woman starts in full body armor, and then it's like strip poker. The more she plays and the more she levels up, the less clothes that she has on, until she gets to the last boss, level 80, whatever. She's just got a thong on, and it's I'm just saying, like, it's ridiculous. Like,
I think it's so silly, but it's so comical, and I think it's very silly for women to be so offended by that. I really do. But
a thong with plus 80 charisma? What? I mean, like,
at the same time, I wish video games would give us at least the option. Like, if we had unlocked really high armor that was very scantily clad, give us the option of reverting back, at least just visually, back to the...
To be fair, World of Warcraft did that later on. There was a way to once you earned a piece of equipment, you could save its look, like you discovered its look, and then you can, when you get new armor, you can apply the skin from the old stuff onto your new armor.
I wish more games did that. I think that is so
I agree.
awesome.
I agree. That should be a thing. I think Diablo 3 does that too. I could be wrong, but there are other games out there that do that. Blizzard has done that more with their games than other companies I've seen.
I think the funniest thing about that is that I remember playing Fatal Frame, and I always talk about Fatal Frame, but I remember playing Fatal Frame, and I remember beating it, and I ended up getting like a bikini suit, like a little
as the
bikini
reward.
As the reward. So here I am, like ghost hunting in a very scary horror game in like a bikini.
How was that rewarding to the straight female? I don't know. How is that reward? Yes, I mean, back then, I mean, I know that advertisement companies were advertising more to the young male. That was just general advertising practices at that point in time. Today, things are a bit different with gender and all that. But I'm just saying, back then, it was all sex, drugs, rock and roll. Let's appeal to the masses and to young male teenagers. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. That's what it's all about. And when it comes to video games, it was, okay, you've unlocked this bikini. There was, what was it? Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball.
Yeah.
Where, just scantily animated girls, you're unlocking all these different bikinis and bathing suits for them. And the commercial for that is so cringy. It's just guys staring at the TV.
But I mean, it's beach volleyball. At least it relates thematically,
But still, it's clearly advertising to the young male. I'm just saying, clearly.
Look at real life beach volleyball,
Well, it is, but at the same time, some of the designs of the girls in that game, like, okay, there's the female art form. And then the anime female art form, where you've got Chun-Li thighs, you've got, chests that are like out.
That's part of the culture, though.
Their waist is super hourglass thin, but like, I mean, and then Chun-Li thighs, like, it's just unrealistic.
It is unrealistic. Just the outfits. I'm going back to Fatal Frame again, but the outfits that you can unlock: maid suit, cat suit, bikinis. Like, it's just so funny, and it's so thematically incorrect that you can't help but laugh. So I think, like, feminists, like, they're all getting offended by it. I think it's very silly and very absurd. Like, just laugh with it, As long as it's not, like, perverted.
If it's not Custer's Revenge.
Or too perverted. Yeah, exactly.
There's extremes here to worry about, and scantily clad outfits is not one of them.
Yeah.
In my
Conan
opinion.
Exiles, right? It features nudity. Mm-hmm. And I've actually played with the nudity before, just to laugh, like, to see how ridiculous it is when you're like fighting with two huge balloons like going around, and it's just very silly. But you know, you can always shut that off, so it's whatever.
Agreed. All right. So, do we have anything else to talk about before we move on?
I think that's it.
I think we're good. Okay, so I appreciate everyone that managed to stick around through all of that. I think, you know, despite the sensitive topics, I think we talked a lot about some really important things, and I'm really...
And it's just opinions. Like, you know, don't get all, like, fan maily and, like, hate maily. It's just opinions.
Exactly.
What? What? I don't understand.
I'm just saying, laugh with it, just embrace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just let's just go with the flow. We can talk about serious things without it being too serious. You know what I mean? And I think it's important to talk about these things because, again, getting back to that one saying, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. These are things, and these are still things that are going on even today. That even our youth needs to be educated about and to know, because at some point I will no longer be here and it'll be up to Vinny to have opinions about all these things, you know, so he needs to be informed and educated. I'm hoping he's going to watch this someday. So, getting to community segment, to lighten things up a bit, again, I asked the people on my Discord to come up with video games that should not be mashed together. Just give me 2 video games that should not be mashed together, and maybe even why. So I can't look at them because of technical reasons, but Idly should be able to read them off to me. So what 2 video games do you have there, and who contributed them? Like the name of the person who contributed them, and what 2 video games should not be mashed together?
So Bessa, he gave a good one. Call of Duty and Pokemon. I think that's funny.
So how would that work? Would you trap actual people in Pokeballs? Like, are you trying to capture people, or am I picturing with Pikachu with an assault rifle? Like, I'm trying to imagine what that would look like.
Probably like a bunch of Pokemon at war. You know, at war
like
with each other.
Hitler has his own group of Pokemon, and England has their own Pokemon, and France has their own Pokemon, and they're fighting World War II with Pokemon.
Or we can like have Pokeballs capturing the people that star in Call of Duty.
Soap McTavish, I've just captured you. Price, I've just captured you. Yeah. Don't ask me why I know the names of the people in Call of Duty, but okay.
And then Lily came up with Farm Together and Fall Guys, which was pretty funny.
Interesting. So, Fall Guys is that crazy, like, Japanese XMC show where you're trying to run an obstacle course?
Yeah.
Could you imagine trying to farm while doing that at the same time? Like, are you competing to farm? Like, okay, so, like, if I'm trying to farm something and you're trying to farm something, can I just walk over to you, pick you up, and throw you off a cliff? Like, how would that work?
It's so weird because it's farmed together. So you work together, but then, like, it's with a Fall Guys. So I guess there were rounds where you would farm, and then as it's going,
it becomes a battle royale.
Yeah, exactly. Which actually ties into what I wrote, which was hold on, where was it? Farm Together, and where is it? Oh my gosh, I can't find it. It was another game.
Okay, thank you. That was very helpful.
I know, right?
You had one job. Keep track of this stuff.
I know. I'm already lost. But I said Farm Together and PUBG. That's the one. PUBG and Farm Together. So I know I don't like PUBG either, but I think it would be funny to have Farm Together as a battle royale, like hitting each other with corn stalks, like redneck style.
We all go to your farm. We pick up. We harvest a pumpkin and throw the pumpkin at each other or whatever. That would be interesting. Okay.
So silly.
What else we have?
Nick came up with Tetris and Minesweeper.
How would that work? So wait, Tetris. You've got a Tetris grid, and you've got mines are dropping, or regular pieces and mines are dropping, and you can't. Or are you revealing Tetris pieces on a mine grid, like a Minesweeper grid?
That could be an actual game.
That would be. You know what, Nick? I think you're onto something. You need to copyright this ASAP.
Taking it old school, he said.
Yes.
That's pretty good. Kira came up with Ember and Phasmophobia.
That's funny. The fact that the house is burning down while you're hunting the ghost and you've got to put out the fire at the same time. Could you imagine like two of us trying to fight the fire while being hunted? Like, oh, the kitchen's on fire. It's gonna spread to the living room. Oh, Revenant's after us now. So how would that even?
We have to find out what ghost it is. We have to save people like in the house.
Right. We have to rescue people from the house, from the ghost and the fire at the same time. That would be fun. That would be so fun. Kira, you need to copyright this immediately and make a video game.
Oh my goodness.
Kira, do this. All right. What else do we have?
Essa also came up with Silent Hill and Mario.
So it's Mario walking through a mist, running from monsters and stuff?
It just reminds me of Luigi's Mansion. Have you ever played Luigi's Mansion?
I've played Luigi's Mansion many, many years ago. I don't remember it.
I have it.
You have it. Interesting. Okay. All right.
But, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like that Silent Hill Mario. I would totally do it.
Well, you like Silent Hill to begin with, so...
And Mario.
So, what, you have 2D pyramid heads that Mario has to run around? I don't know how that... Can you jump on... If you jump on a pyramid head, do you die because they have spikes on... I mean, it's a pyramid head, so...
She could swallow, like, all the ghosts and stuff and then shoot them back out.
There, alright, that works. Okay.
Lily came up with Dungeon Defenders and Among Us.
Okay. So Dungeon Defenders is a 3D tower defense game. I love that. And then what was the game that she paired with it?
Among Us.
So how does that work? Someone's a traitor. Someone is dismantling the turrets, or someone is causing them to malfunction. And out of the 4 people defending, you've got to figure out who it is. Yep. That's interesting. Okay.
Or you could reverse it and have like the Among Us UI with like turrets like on the edges of the map maybe, and like having enemies over. I don't know.
That would be cool. Okay. So it's a tower defense. It's Among Us. But you've also got a tower defense element to where you're everyone's tasked with stopping this massive threat.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a killer, and he's killing people off. That's cool. I like that idea. That's like playing a game where, remember that one, like, Overcooked, where we're all working together to do something. But could you imagine if there's a traitor mechanic and this person's killing people as that's happening? Like,
you'd have to really be stealthy about it, because I think that would be pretty obvious.
Maybe, but if a big ship like Among Us, where everything's got a fog of war... if one person's manning the weapon station and one person's manning shields or whatever, and there's all these ships attacking you, you know what I mean? And people are tasked with doing it. Could you imagine that happening?
I like Overcooked and Among Us because you can use like the other people's meat to put them on the burger.
That is cannibalism? My God, woman. Wow. Okay. You're
fired.
You're fired. Okay.
One of the ones that you came up with was Thief Simulator and Among Us. How would that work?
Well, I'm just picturing Among Us with the killing, but you're also trying to steal things from each other. Like, everyone's a thief. Or, better yet, put it on the Thief Simulator map, where, you've got all these houses, and it's a multiplayer thief game where everyone's trying to take objects from every which way house, but... There's also the Among Us element where these thieves can kill each other, and you're trying to figure out, like, you're all working together to get, like, maybe 10,000 money across everyone. But there's one thief that's killing them all off, and you have to figure out who it is. Like a clue kind of thing. I don't know.
Okay. I dig it.
Uh-huh.
One of the ones I came up with was Sakura Clicker and Animal Crossing.
Oh my God, no. No.
Why not?
No, no.
It's amazing. You click scantily clad cartoon animals nonstop,
That's
right?
disturbing. I don't want to look at... No. I mean, I get it. The name of this particular entry was, put 2 video games that should not be together. I need one that's named 2 video games that could be mashed together, and we shouldn't even mention it or talk about it ever again. Like, that's what that is. So,
All right.
no more. Oh my god. No. Scantily clad animals. I can't even think about it. Next.
All right. So the one that David and you and I were talking about was Phasmophobia in Valheim.
Yes, that was a very funny conversation. Just the fact that we don't even have any tools. In order to make an EMF reader, we have to cut down a tree outside, bring it into the house, carry the log upstairs into the workbench area, craft the EMF reader with these logs. All the while the ghost is just hunting us. Yeah,
probably like dismantling the truck for wires.
Yes, exactly.
House,
that'd be awesome. Or
using the remote as a spirit box.
Or there is base building in Valheim. What if we don't start with the house at all? We build the house, and as we build the house, the ghost spawns like 20 minutes after the house has been built.
Oh my gosh, it's funny as heck.
I don't know. It'd be funny.
Star Wars Battlefront and The Sims.
So all right. So we've got Star Wars Battlefront, but The Sims just Myshuno Flurb just shooting each other.
You have to take care of your hunger, bathroom, and social needs. While
that would be worse. Could you imagine being like this Darth Maul spinning around the map, killing things, and be like, "Oh, my bathroom need is now flashing red. I need to go behind this tree real quick and take care of business."
Or with the hunger need, you can totally like eat the bodies that you're killing.
Again with the cannibalism. What's wrong with you?
I'm just trying to be, efficient.
That's not efficient. That's disgusting. Okay, Darth Maul has to take a timeout, drive to McDonald's, order a Happy Meal, drive back, and now he's got his hunger. Yeah.
And you can actually decorate and stuff in The Sims, so you'll be able to decorate the maps, as you're battling. So
if you've got this open battlefield and you need cover, just go into the build menu and plop down some couches so that you can turn them over and that's your cover.
Okay, so the next one is...
Who came up with that one?
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay, all right.
And then you have Tenants and 7 Days to Die.
Oh, yes, so that would be interesting, I guess. I like Not only do you manage your people and have to charge them rent and the like and build houses, but you've also got the zombie threat that you have to deal with. And the events that you have to deal with. Instead of you having to kill roaches and cockroaches and deal with broken down appliances, there are zombies entering my house. Okay, I'll send my uncle right away to go fix that for you.
Can you imagine if the tenants were just zombies?
That would be So instead of people, it's just zombies. So now you're renting. So you're a landlord to a real estate market filled with zombies. Mm-hmm, interesting. Basically. Okay. So you'd have to decorate their house with brains and guts and other things.
Or like House Flipper in 7 Days to Die.
House Flipper. How do you sell houses during a zombie apocalypse?
I think that would be kind of cool.
You'd be selling bunkers at that point, like stocked bunkers with supplies. Like maybe isn't there a House Flipper DLC or something with bunker? Garden? It's like the Prepper pack or the Prepper DLC or something. It has some items in there that's like Prepper stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's not too far off.
Okay, so then there's Warhammer Vermintide 2 and Viscera Cleanup Detail.
That would go well together. There's so much blood in Vermintide 2. You know how long it would take to clean that up? Levels in Viscera Cleanup Detail are bad enough. They take 2+ hours to do.
Like while the battle is going on.
While the battle is going on? How? So wait, you've got a team of 4 people up front fighting, and then you've got these poor saps with mops behind them, sweeping up after them, chasing them down. Like they're tracking footprints, like, with bloody footprints. So now you're just sweeping behind them as they're walking and battling.
The only way you would win is like as Like, you have to keep up with the battle.
If the level becomes too bloody, then you automatically lose. So you have to hurry up and clean the blood as it happens. Wow. Okay, I like that.
And then there's Heroes of the Storm, or League of Legends, and Ark.
Okay, I would like that. Having,
Really?
yeah, like, could you imagine instead of Blizzard characters, just dinosaurs? T-Rex, that's your MOBA character, or the Velociraptor, but if you've got something stupid like a Brontosaurus, like, what the hell are you gonna do with that? Like,
It'd be like a
what is an herbivore gonna do in a MOBA?
It has a long neck. It can, like, swing its neck or swing its tail.
I guess.
Stomp on you.
What about compies? How could you do anything as a compy?
You could be like a giant compy and
Right.
then, like, spit out, like, little compies.
Okay, alright, so, yes, we'll spawn little compies. Okay, so it's a necromancer. Only it's a interesting, a compymancer. Sure.
Or can you imagine, like, the reverse? Like, have the Arc UI, but, like, you have to right-click to move, and you have to go on the other side of the map to defeat the enemy's core with, like, turrets all around.
That would be interesting. Only in a 3D view as opposed to top-down, is that what you're saying?
That'd be too much, though.
No, I couldn't do that.
Alright, and then continuing on with Arc would be Arc in Golf with Your Friends.
That was one I came up with. Yeah. I love that one. So...
You're just, like, hitting dinosaurs in the hole.
Well, no, I was thinking, like, okay, you're surviving an arc, right? But hole, like, 17 is in the middle of the map. Or hole 18 is in the fire biome. And you're trying to not die while hitting golf balls.
That is so easy. All you have to do is
Without a flying mount.
Build, like, a wall, like, you know,
Build walls. You'd have to build like 300 of those species X plants and scatter them around the golf course. But now let's just say that wall building and any form of defense is out. All you can do is putt. So you've got to go through all these biomes, dodging wyverns and everything, and trying to get this ball in the hole. That would be awesome.
That's so tough.
Underwater.
Oh my god.
Alright,
and then Democracy 4 and Frostpunk?
Yes, so Democracy 4 is all about government management. Well, could you imagine something similar to where Frostpunk, it's a post-apocalyptic setting, and people are actually in dire straits and dying, and you're trying to form this government.
But that's what you're doing in Frostpunk.
I agree. Maybe that was less of a funny entry and more of a maybe I should make this kind of thing. That's actually a good idea.
I thought I already had that though, like with policies and stuff.
Frostpunk has very limited. You just enact things. Like you're going, I'd like to enact this policy, and that's it. Mm-hmm. But with Democracy, you're actually there are sliders where you're going to spend this much money into. I don't know, healthcare, and then this much money into police, and then this much into various things, and then different things. It's more of a government simulator, whereas Frostpunk is more on the survival management, resource management than anything else.
Okay.
But I don't know. So maybe that wasn't, like, maybe that's actually a good idea as opposed to a bad idea. But I don't know. What else we got?
I got Astroneer and Wingspan.
Okay. So, explain, please.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of birds in space. with the bird, with, like, spacesuits and helmets.
Okay. All right. So so what about, like, so maybe Wingspan the board game, but with astronauts instead of birds?
That's too common.
Too common.
I was thinking more of, like, the Astroneer.
Survival element.
Like Wingspan on this planet. I don't know.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out. You came up with that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Only you can explain this, and if you can't, then there's no hope.
No.
All right, moving on.
2 Point Hospital and Raft.
So the hospital is on a giant raft.
You have to build a hospital and manage rambunctious employees on your dinky raft.
So shark bite, people come in, and you have to take care of them. Okay, I get it.
That's so bad, dude.
It's interesting. It's okay. All right.
Building a huge hospital on your raft. So you'd have to, like, spend resources on your raft to expand it and build the hospital on it.
While the shark is removing parts of the hospital.
Yeah,
because the shark will eat your raft. So,
Although Flotsam is kind of like that, isn't it?
Flotsam is more about creating a civilization on a raft, where you've got all these production buildings and food production and all this other. Yeah, so it's kind of similar. It's Flotsam is more resource production and management.
Okay. Similo and The Sims.
So you'd have the Goth family or the whatever family as the cards or Mortimer. Yeah, is that what you mean?
Yeah, you have Bella and Mortimer, and then Bob and the other woman from the Newbies. You have all these Sim characters from all the Sims.
Did you check the Steam Workshop to see if this existed? Because it may exist already.
But you have to include all the custom-made Sims that everyone in the world has also made for themselves. So that's like 50 trillion gajillion zillion cards like on that one tableau.
And 95% of them are big-breasted women that teenagers have made for The Sims. I'm just saying.
No.
Give a male teenager boob sliders, and I guarantee something is going to come out of that. So
I have to say though, in The Sims, they don't make it like too crazy, do they? I don't remember.
No, I mean, not in The Sims 2, but you can. And there were a lot of. I remember though in The Sims 2 or 3, I don't remember which one. You could download like hot girl models.
Yeah, the custom-made stuff. Yeah,
you could.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Spy Party and Heroes of Hammerwatch.
All right, explain, please. Spy Party is a 1v1. One person is the spy, one person is the sniper trying to kill the spy. And Heroes of Hammerwatch is a cooperative 4-player plus dungeon. Well, it's 1-player plus.
But here's the thing, though.
Dungeon crawler.
Can you imagine being in the Heroes of Hammerwatch arena, right? And there's like 4 people, right? And one of them is like the spy, and then you have to try and kill off the other one.
I'm trying to understand So wait. So wait. Let's say there's 300 regular heroes in the arena.
Uh-huh.
One of them is human and the rest are computer controlled.
Yeah.
And they're all killing each other or whatever, or they're fighting in the arena. And based on their behavior, you have to figure out which one the actual it's like Where's Waldo and things are moving around. No, absolutely not.
No? Good. I made it on the list.
Wow. Okay. What else you got? Anything?
I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
All right. That was an awesome segment. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up with Patreon and Twitch thank yous, some new release and sales, and the Spanish sentence of the week. So, Patreon people, for this month, Ratsies pledged $135 for a lifetime of $3,635. Scotty R pledged $100 for a lifetime of $1,710. Brian pledged $50 for a lifetime of $500. Greg Howe, King Bobcat, pledged $10 for a lifetime of $452. Mind a Lot pledged $5 for a lifetime of $90. Rip Alpha pledged $1 for a lifetime of $48. Alyssa Barrett pledged $1 for a lifetime of $7. And Rabbit Amoeba pledged $1 for a lifetime of $7. On Twitch, it doesn't say how much you're subscribed, but I'm pretty sure everyone's subscribed at the $5 level. White Knight has a 36-month streak, so 3 years. Bessa702 has 34 months. Mistema has 19. X Misa88 has 7. Rabbit Amoeba has 7. S Princess84 has 4. Nick Beard50 has 3. And Ideogram has 1. So thank you everyone for your contributions and your support. I do appreciate it. I'm not working, so it's kind of helping me pay my mortgage. Not completely, but I'd like to get there at some point. New releases. Outriders is $60. It has mixed reviews on Steam. Rounds is $6. It has very positive reviews on Steam. Open TTD, which is Transport Tycoon Deluxe. It's based on a very old game. It's free to play. Overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. So it's all the rage, apparently. So it's one of those open source remade games for the public. OOTP Out of the Park Baseball 22, $40, very positive on Steam. It Takes Two, $40, overwhelmingly, just very, very overwhelmingly positive on Steam. Planet Zoo Southeast Asia Animal Pack, $10, very positive. Evil Genius 2, $40. I didn't see what the review score was. That's one of the, out of all the games I just read off to you, I've only played Evil Genius 2 and I'm liking it. I have 2 streams on YouTube. Go check them out. Again, $40. Sales on Steam. Horizon Zero Dawn Complete is 40% off, $30. Wasteland 3, 50% off, $30. Hunt Showdown, 50% off, $20. Cyberpunk 2077, $20, $48. Or 20% off, $48, yeah. Disco Elysium, 20% off, $32. Civilization 6 New Frontier Pass, 25% off, $30. Green Man Gaming, I do have an affiliate link in the below description. Evil Genius 2, 23% off, $30. Hitman 3, 35% off, $39. Life is Strange Complete, 84% off, $3.28. Dying Light Enhanced, 77% off, $13.50. Monster Hunter World, 42% off, $17.42. Risk of Rain 2, 36% off, $15.93. Outlast 2, 84% off, $4.80. Green Man Gaming also has this best ever sale going on as of right now. It'll be up soon, though. But there's a lot more games that are discounted, so go check them out. Humble Bundle, we're just humble. Outward, 76% off, $9.59. Kingdom Come, 73% off, $8.15. Windbound, 58% off, $12.74. And Dead Island Riptide, 80% off, $4. And again, I do have an affiliate link for Humble Bundle in the below description. Okay, so those were these sales. Let's end this entire podcast with our Spanish segment. This is a Spanish sentence of the month. Let's go ahead and find my appropriate sound for this, because we cannot do this without the appropriate sound effect. And I'm going to continue stalling for as long as I can until I find... There we go. Okay. I love that. Best sound effect for this podcast ever. All right. Las camisas de franela son las mejores. Yo también llevo ropa interior de franela. So,
very good.
You like that? You like my Spanish? Okay. Inflections? Okay. Las camisas. Camera. The cameras, the Franella son. Franella's son. Fran's full name is Franella, but Franella has a son. So the camera of the Fran's son, las mejores. That is, see, there's cajones, and then there's mejores. Yeah, so mejores are like ovaries, whereas cojones are the male version of genitals. So what you've got here is Fran's son, Franella. Franella's son that has...
Where are you going with this?
I don't know.
Farnella's son having over. I broke him, folks. Oh my god.
And that concludes.
You didn't finish the other one. I want to know where her son is going.
With his ovary cameras.
Ew. We just finished talking about stuff like this. Okay, finish.
Yo también huevo. Yevo is what they use in Mexico. Instead of TiVo, it's Yevo. So Yevo is a TV service. Ropes. Interior de Franela. Franela referring back to Fran. So it's saying también is also. I know that is Spanish. So yo también is I also have a TV program where Fran is using ropes as interior decoration. That's what that is. So I think I've translated this.
How does that relate to this camera's ovaries?
It gets, well, see, here's the thing. It gets lost in the translation. See, in Mexico, this would make sense, but in English, it doesn't work. So this is a trick entry, I think. I think you're trying to trick me. Okay. So what does it actually mean?
It says, las camisas de franela son las mejores. Yo también llevo ropa interior de franela, which means flannel shirts are the best. I also wear flannel underwear.
Well, I was close. Ovaries.
Fran's son.
Yes, France. I think that was. Yes, I think we got that.
Wow. Had nothing to do with ovaries. Nothing to do with cameras. Nothing to do with Fran.
I'll take it.
Oh my god.
All right. So I think on that note, we should just end this podcast. I want to thank everyone who's made it this far in the podcast. I do appreciate it. Hopefully you were not disappointed by that ending there. If you guys haven't already, subscribed to me on Twitch and YouTube. That way you can stay up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince and Ida Lee. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you guys next time.
Bye, guys.